Okay, I think I'm live. Let's go to the comments. Alright, so yep, I'm live. I made it. So let's see if the video is okay. I might just lighten up the image a little bit. So I'll just do some adjustments. Last week the video wasn't completely sharp, it was a bit blurry, so now I want to make sure that everything is okay. So I'm just going to make some small adjustments to the image right now, but I think I have fixed the focus problem, so that's good. But it can just be a little bit lighter. Maybe adjust the white balance a little as well. And in the meantime, I'll just wait for you guys to come in. Okay. Hi Brandy. Hi Jasmine. Hi Joanne. Thank you for being a moderator again today. Let me know if you all can hear me. So, if you're looking at the fish now, it should be quite sharp, so I hope it's alright. Let me know in the comments if the image or if the video looks okay. Have to brighten it up just a little more. Then I'll get started. So I'm a little over time because I was waiting for a video of mine to render, but just when it was about to be done rendering, it errored, it crashed. So now I've waited for 5 hours for my video to render, and it's basically all for nothing. I have to render it again, and hopefully it will be good after. So that's a little bit of a bummer. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Aishat Fayaza? I'm just trying. I hope I'm saying your name right. Hi Terry. Terry says hello from stormy Clearwater, Florida. So cool. Let me know where you all are from today. Hi Graham. So last week I did the sketch and then all the first base layering of the body of the fish, and then today I will continue with just a little bit more layering, but I'm basically almost ready to do the burnishing on the body and then add some details, add the scales, and I'll just be coloring and answering the comments as I go. Also, I'm still working with Faber-Castell Poychromos, then also a white Caran d'Ache luminance, if I can find it. Oh, it's right here, that I use for burnishing. And then the paper is Canson 1557, 180 grams. Hi Leslie. Hi, Brandy is from South Carolina. India. Okay. I'm not sure if I can finish this tonight. I'm going to try, but I don't want to rush it. So I'll just see how far I get with this. So I'm just adding a little bit more cadmium orange, 111. Maybe sharpening the edges a little. So the image looks much better than last week, so that's good. So I now know why it looked so blurry last week. First of all, the lens of my webcam was a little dirty, so I cleaned it. And also, my camera was a little bit too high up, so I lowered it. And it's way closer to my paper now, so I didn't have to zoom in manually in the program. So that really helped. Now you can actually see what I'm doing. Hi Virginia. Alright, so a little more orange, maybe a little more red. So I'm going in with a little bit more pale geranium lake, 121. And I'm layering this on top of the layers I already put down in circular motions, trying to keep an even layering all throughout. How old am I? I am 26. All right. Okay, so I think I'm done now with all the base layering. So now I can take my luminance, Caran d'Ache luminance. I really like that one for burnishing because it's quite smooth. It's a wax-based pencil, so the lead is a bit smoother than the Poychromos one, which makes it really suitable for just blending colors together. So what I'm doing is I'm going over with the Caran d'Ache in small circular motions, and I'm pushing the colors into the paper. And right now it still looks a little weird. It still looks like a kid's drawing, but that's always the case with colored pencil. Let's smooth this out. So how's your day going? Are you drawing something currently? Let me know in the comments if you're working on something. Today I finished filming a tutorial that I was rendering, but it went wrong. It crashed, unfortunately, so I have to render that all over again. But I did make a really fun elephant pastel project. So I'm rendering that again, and then it should be up on Patreon somewhere tomorrow, I hope. And I'm also currently dog sitting a doggy called Molly. She's currently sleeping in the living room, and I'm just here in the studio drawing. So that's really fun. Okay, so I have to put down quite a bit of pressure to push the colors into the paper. So if you're having hand or wrist problems, I wouldn't advise to do this. But it does speed up the process quite a lot. So I'm just going all over. Hi Kathleen from Cape Town, South Africa. So cool. Michelle says I'm working on a pastel polar bear for a gift. Really cool. I have never drawn a polar bear yet, I think. It should be up on my list. Okay, going all over the gills as well. Leslie says, I'm drawing my German Shepherd with my nose to below Carbothello pastels. My first time using pastels. Loving them. Oh, that's so cool. I'm glad you like them. That's not an easy subject to do for your first pastel drawing. I'm really curious, actually, what it looks like. Hi, David. Thanks for joining again. Right, going over this belly area. Okay, so I want a nice smooth surface for my details to go on top on. Using the Caran does flatten the colors a little, so after burnishing I always go over again with some of the colors to hype them up again, hype up the contrast a little, put some shape back into the fish. So let's get some red. Maybe also some Caput Mortem violet. Let's start with the red. Deep red to 23, which I'm going to put on the belly. Now I have to be really careful with my pressure. I don't need much pressure, but I do need very even pressure. Otherwise I get blotches. Hi Meerte. Welcome to the stream. Hi Yvonne. Oh, Yvonne's at work. It does depend on what kind of job you have, if it's fun or not. But I can imagine right now being at work is not that fun. In the meantime, I also have to keep looking at the reference so I don't lose the detail, lose track of where I am. So let's go into the gills a little bit more. Brandy says I have a hard time keeping pressure. Yes, so that's a thing you have to practice on when drawing with colored pencil, because your pressure is so important. I basically always have light pressure until I start burnishing with the Caran d'Ache. That's where I increase my pressure to medium, sometimes high, but my pressure is basically always light. And that way you can keep on layering. Okay, let's do a more orangey red. And darken up the head a little bit more. So this is light cadmium red 117. And let's add that on the face. Brighten up the face a little. Going around the eye, I still have to fill in the eye, but I think it's easier to finish the area around it first. Hi Georgina. Ah, thanks Leslie. That's great to hear. As Steffi says, I hope I'm saying that right, how do you know which exact color to use? So that's basically experience and practice, and also studying color theory really helps. I've been studying color theory a little bit more lately because I've also started painting. And since I started thinking a little bit more about the color wheel, choosing colors has been going a little bit more smoothly, but also because I have so much experience now with the colored pencils, I know exactly which colors go well together and which ones don't. So it's also a bit of trial and error as well. And the more you draw, the better you learn to observe a subject and really see the base tones in an image. So it's experience, it's also skill, and it's a little bit of theory knowledge. Okay, let's add a bit more of this orange tone. So this will not be my most realistic project ever. For that, it's just I don't have enough time, but I am going to make sure that it looks realistic. Get the colors well blended. Following the roundness of the body a little bit as well when I do the shading. Let's add some more of this yellow on the belly. So now I have to start working on sharpening the lines a little because the outer edges are quite fuzzy. So let's sharpen the outlines. Also the top. Graham says, if you could only ever use one medium, colored pencil or pastel, what would it be? That is really difficult. I think I'd say colored pencil, but I really need pastel pencils as well in order to not burn out. So maybe if I would go the easiest way, I would go for pastels because they just feel a little bit more easy to me and a bit less time consuming. So I think if I choose pastels, I would not burn out. Maybe if I have to use only colored pencil, I would just burn out because it just takes so much time and I really like it, but I need that variation to stay inspired. So I really can choose basically. Okay, so I feel I've done enough shading on the body now. Now I feel I have to put in some detail. So I see the scales. I think the only way to get this to look realistic is to draw in all the scales. So I'm going to try and draw in as many scales as possible. And they look a little darker than the base tone that I used. So I have to pick a nice dark color. Not too prominent of a color. I think I'm going for middle cadmium red 217. The color that suits all these base tones well. And now I'll just have to start sketching out all these scales. So I don't have to push hard because I want them to fit in with the rest. Okay, so let's have a look at how these are lined up. So seeing all these. This is going to be quite a time-consuming job. Going to focus on the top half of the body. And I'm going to try to create the suggestion of scales without having to draw all of them. Okay. So I thought this was going to be a really nice, quick and easy project, but it's not all that quick. So the head area doesn't have much scale texture, it's mainly just the body. And I'm leaving open spaces in between the dots I draw. I hope I'm saying that right. You are asking a lot of questions and sometimes I miss them, so I'm glad you're asking questions, but sometimes I'm just drawing, so I miss them. Is it easy to draw that? No, it's definitely not easy. Color pencil is never easy. And all animals or all subjects have some difficulty to them. It doesn't matter what you draw, you can make it as easy or as hard as you want. Okay, so this is going to be very finicky work, but I'm trying to be fast with it. Okay, I'm also looking at how these scales are lined up, so they are lined up in like stripy ways. In this stripe it goes down around the belly and then it goes up a little more, so I have to keep an eye on that because the shape of these scales also give a lot of shape to the body. So if I make everything super straight, it's going to make the body flat. Right, so this is just the start of it. I can always go over with some other colors to darken up some scales. I'm starting off quite lightly. For these bottom half of the belly I have to go in with the darker color because this red doesn't stand out enough. So keeping the red for the top half of the body. Maybe next time I'll do something with pastels again. Because I can do bigger pieces with pastels and it just takes way less time than this. Okay. Let's go to Caput Mortuum Violet 263 for the scales on the bottom half of the body that have to be a little darker. So I'm not really adding that greenish glow that I see on the belly. I'm sticking with the purple tones because I like it a little bit better. So I'm definitely not trying all these scales separately. I'm zigzagging a little bit to just give the indication. Perhaps you can do a subject using both pastels and colored pencil. Yeah, definitely. I like combining them, so I could do that. That would be then a little bit of a larger project. So, of course, I can do larger projects, more difficult projects as well. But then I have to spread them out over even more live streams. So even for this one, I'm not sure if I can finish it tonight. But if you don't mind, I could do that because I love working with colored pencil and both pastels in the same drawing. Okay, I'm going to go over this with, let's do some cadmium orange 111. Just to smooth all this out. Blending the scales with the skin a little bit more. Bit of brighter orange. Maybe do some Caput Mortuum violets on the bottom half of the face. Just give a bit more shading to the face that way. Then again, I'm taking the luminance. Just blend the scales in with the body because I don't want them to be so prominent. I'm brushing this a little bit. This is not going to be my best work. Brushing is so bad with colored pencil. Thank you, Adolescent Vlog. Going over now with a little bit of extra dark orange. Going over these scales again. Now making them more vibrant instead of just darker. And then what I might do is take my Jelly Roll pen and just do some glistening thingies, some highlighting in between the scales, and that maybe gives it more of a wet look. Okay, so then maybe next time I'm going to be starting a larger piece and then do a background with pastels and then do the subject with colored pencil. That is going to be a more time-consuming piece that I will have to spread out over several live streams. But I think that might be more fun than watching me rush through a piece like this. Okay, going over the face one more time with my orange tones and a bit of red to get it even more hyped up. Let's sharpen the outlines one more time with my yellow tone. Okay, so I'm going to try something. I'm going to pick the Sakura Jelly Roll pen. Usually I don't really like to use the white gel pens in my work anymore because they are not archival. So if I'm going to sell a piece, I would not do this. But as this is just a fun little piece, I am going to add it. So I'm adding it in between the darker scales that I just drew. Create some highlighting there. Not everywhere, just here and there. Mainly on the top half of the body that is catching the most light. So let me know subjects for a little bit of a more difficult, larger piece. It will be an animal, but let me know which animal you'd like to see. It could be anything. Okay, maybe add some more red to the belly. Let's go around this fin a little better as well. Okay. And then I'm just going to move on to the fins because those are also very fun to draw. I'm really looking forward to drawing the fins, so I'll be moving on to those soon. Alright, long hair calico cat. Cockatiel. A cockatiel is cool. I'm going to remember that. That's a good idea. going to leave the body soon. Just doing a little bit more glazing of some colors here and there. Maybe do some more scaling on the tail because the tail's pretty flat now, so let's spend some more time on that. This is light cadmium red 117. Adding some lighter scales with that. Leslie says, is there a specific brand of jelly roll pen you use? Yes, this is the one from Sakura and it's number 08. I really like that one. You have them in multiple thicknesses, but I've always been using the 08 one. Or a parrot. Yes, I love parrots. I've made photos of a really nice blue yellow macaw. And I did some, I made some really cool photos of other birds as well. So I do have some bird photos laying around that I can use. Alright, so let's leave the body and move on to the fin. So I'm going to move on with the tail first because it's the largest, so I want to get that finished first. So what I like to do first is lighten up the sketch lines because I'll be working with very light tones. Otherwise you will continue to see the graphite through the color pencil, which doesn't look very nice. So I'm lightening up so much that I can barely see it. Perhaps a sea creature hiding between sea vegetation and coral. Yeah, that would also be fun. Although there are not many good free photos available of sea scenes, so I always have a difficult time finding photos, so that's why I don't do many sea creatures, because I just can't find photos. But if I can find a photo, that would be really nice. Okay, so let's get started with the tail. It has to be a whole lot lighter than the body. And I see some green in it. I see some beige. So let's pick some colors. I'm definitely going to pick ivory. And I do want some of the oranges. Then I want a very nice neutral green as well. And maybe even a little bit of turquoise or cobalt green. Maybe some light gray. And oh, this one, earth green. I want very subtle, nice colors. And that's it basically. I think I can get started with this. Maybe some yellow. So I'm going to get started with ivory, so that's 103 to create a base with it, so that we have a base layer everywhere. Make it quite sharp. I'm just going along the outlines with it. You can't really notice it, it is very light. Actually, I have to lighten up the sketch even more now. right away going over the outlines with it so that I don't lose the fins. There's some really nice veiny texture in it as well. And with this I'm going to create all these lines that I see. Run that across, create some texture right away. And just get this filled in a little. You will probably not be able to see this. Right, connect that to the tail skin area to get a bit of a smoother transition there. Okay, so that's enough. It's just a little base. Now let's add some more colors. So I definitely see a green hue, so I'm going to get earth green 172 and being careful with it because it's going to be too dark pretty quickly, so I need to be very light. And again, going to create the veins that I see in the tail, going in the right direction. And I want to keep the fins very transparent, very flowy, so they won't need too many layers because they're going to look too dense then. So I want to keep them light. Adding some more green on the edges so that we can see the edges of the fins. I'm varying a little bit in the thickness of my lines. Want some variation there, and I'm constantly looking at where these go to. Concentrating. Okay, so I hope you can see that. It's still quite light. I'm going to add some more colors on top. It's pretty quiet today in the stream. I'm also noticing on Instagram that there are not many people online. I think everyone is on vacation, enjoying the weather. Fortunately, I'm always working, so I'm just working through the summer. Alright, going along the edges of the fins once more. Lightly. So of course the background in the picture is dark, which makes the fins stand out really nicely, and my background is white, which makes everything a little bit more difficult. Oh yeah, the Olympics. Yes, you're right, David. I've been following the Olympics. So here in the Netherlands you can watch from or until 4 p.m. or something like that because of the time difference. But there might be people watching right now. Okay, let's put in some of that nice orange. So we see some orange markings. Those are really nice, so let's put those in. Let's start with cadmium orange 111. Get it sharpened. And focus a bit more on getting those markings in there. Drawing lines, leaving open tiny spaces in between my lines to indicate the veiny texture of the tail fin. Connecting that orange to the tail. And just looking at where I see these orange markings. Keeping my line sharp. Leslie just ordered a few jelly roll pens. I hope you like them. I've been using them for so many years. I've really liked them in toned papers, so I like the toned sketchbooks, like Strathmore toned tan or toned gray, and they work really well on that if you want to do any highlighting in your graphite drawings on that toned paper or colored pencil drawings. They really give an extra touch, especially to cartoons, so it's a really fun thing to add. So I think I hyped up the vibrancy too much today. Although I quite like how this looks, very vibrant. And let's keep this fin very light. So actually I'm almost finished with it because I don't want too much layering on here. And this orange does make it look more finished, so that's good. Don't need much more to this. Constantly following the shape and the flow of the fin when I draw my lines. Okay, so let's leave it there for the orange. Let's pick a slightly darker tone as well. So I'm going in with light cadmium red 117. Just darken up some of these lines. Especially where the tail starts, to get a better transition from the skin or scales into the tail. All these terms. I'm so bad with fish terms, I have no idea. Alright, so I do feel I have to add a bit more layering to the whole tail itself, so I'm going to pick just a tad of cobalt green, 156, and do a bit of glazing. So with a very light hand, I'm going to go over the light area and just tone it a little. I don't want too much. Maybe also at the bottom to have a better edge or outline. Also in the top half, just a bit of glazing like that. I'm holding the pencil very close to the end. Then you automatically just get a light pressure on the paper or on the pencil. If you hold it like this, you get very heavy pressure right away. So I'm always holding the pencil close to the end for layering like this. Alright, and then I'm going to go back to the ivory, the color that I started with, and use it a little to push the cobalt green into the paper to thicken the layer just a little bit, because it is quite light, so I can darken it up like this. Now I see that I need way more orange at the base of the tail, so I'm going to do that later. Okay, so let's add a bit more orange at the base of the tail and maybe add some more contrast to it as well. Just a little bit more orange. And then I need a darker tone. Okay, so I'm taking some Caput Mortem Violet and darkening up at the very base of the tail, in between. Give the tail a bit more shape, like that. And then just a little bit in the top half. Right, so even in light areas we need enough contrast. It is 9 p.m. now, so I'm in 1 hour, a little bit less than 1 hour, so I'm going fine. I think I'll be able to finish this. Alright, so the tail I'm going to leave like this. Keep it light, keep it flowy. I'm not going to do any burnishing. I'm going to move on to the back fin. Not sure what you call this. The top fin. Let's see if I missed any comments. Yep, I'm using Faber-Castell Poychromos and just a white Caran d'Ache luminance for blending. Graham says, to achieve a high degree of realism in pastel, what would you advise as an optimum size of the paper? So I've always liked working small. So I did most of my drawings on 8x10 and I just preferred that. But right now I'm starting to lean more towards 12x16. And I'm currently really liking that as an optimum size for realistic drawings. But it does depend on how much time you have and how much space. But currently I would say 12x16 or maybe 11x15, a little smaller. So this is definitely looking way better than last week. Last week I was like, or at the end of the stream I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to fix this. If I'm going to make this look like a realistic drawing. But now it starts to take shape. Okay, so the same again for the top fin, though this one is way darker. So I can start right away with some darker tones. So right away I'm getting in with orange. Let's do the light cadmium red, actually, 117, to create these veins. And then the edge of the fin is a lot more light. So I'm going to leave that open for now and just focus on the bottom half. Hey Molly! I'm currently pet sitting a dog. She's with me about once every 2 weeks and she's currently here, walking in the studio. Hey! Hey! Kom hier zitten. Wants attention. So I'm drawing these veiny textures, leaving open some space in between my lines and following the flow of the fin. What is here now? What are you doing? She wants attention. So now I have to draw, read comments, watch my reference photo, and entertain a dog at the same time. Alright, so this doesn't have to be perfect yet. Hi Naima. What a pretty name. Joanne says, I think the eye will make the drawing come to life. Yes, definitely. I still have to finish the eye. I'm almost forgetting it. I think I will save the eye for last. That will be fun. Alright, so this is good to start with. Let's move on to doing a base layer for the top half of the fins as well, or for the fin. So I do see that green again, I see a bit of yellow, I see a tiny bit of blue. So I'm getting started with the ivory again, just for a little base. So that's the 103. Let's get rid of the sketch lines. And I can just go over what I just drew with the light cadmium red, that's no problem. Should I get Poychromos colored pencil or Canson luminance colored pencils? So I would recommend Poychromos just because I have the most experience with them. I know Canson luminance are really nice for doing skin tones if you're doing human portraits, because they're very easy to blend. But I feel for pet portraiture, for basically anything other than human portraits, I would recommend Poychromos because they're more versatile in my opinion and just a little bit easier to keep sharp and to work with. They're also a little bit cheaper, I think, I'm not sure. Switching to the earth green again, using this for the edges. So you can actually see the edge. The fin on the spine is called a dorsal fin. The tail fin is also known as the caudal fin. Oh, right. Oh, thank you. Yes, the dorsal fin. I completely forgot that term. Alright, let's make sure you can see this fin. Just lightly, I want to keep it light, just like the tail fin as well. I can always make it darker, so with colored pencil you're really working from light to dark. Rather start off too light than too dark, because you can always darken it up. But lightening things up is a lot more difficult. So I'm now picking sky blue 146, also glazing a little bit of blue in there, especially at the top. So slowly this is going to take shape. Alright, so a little bit of blue, that's nice. I'm going to add also a little bit of yellow. So, no, let's get a slightly darker one. I'm getting dark chrome yellow, 109, and also glaze it lightly along the top half. Keeping it light. Maybe just go in between the darker lines that I drew as well. Like that, just blending everything together. Alright, so now I see that I can darken up the base of the fin even more. I am going in with another tone of yellow. Let's do, what did I start with? Cadmium red? No, I'm going in with this orange. So this is dark cadmium orange, 115. I'm going to darken up the whole base of the fin. There she comes again. Hi, Molly. Hello. Molly's just walking around the house. Wanting attention. Graham says a chimpanzee head, shoulders, hands in fine detail. Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I've drawn a monkey once, and that's it. So maybe that would be a good subject to do for a stream, because I've never done that before. Never drawn a chimp before, so maybe that would be nice. I must say though that that's not my specialty. How do you say that? My specialty, that's what I meant. It's not my specialty to do apes or monkeys, because they look too much like humans, so. But I can try. Alright, so darken this up, and now I can go in with Caput Mortem Violet again and darken up even more at the base of these veins. Just a little, not too much. And then we're getting there, so it's finally starting to take shape. Am I planning on coloring the dark backgrounds? That's a lot to cover with just colored pencil. Yeah, so yeah, I'm going to leave the background open because of that reason. I never color in backgrounds with just colored pencil when I work on this paper, because it takes me hours and I quite like the look of just plain white background sometimes. So for now I'm going to leave it open. It's storming, suddenly storming. It's really cozy, I like storms. Okay, so now let's go in again with a little bit more yellow, dark chrome yellow 109, just to thicken the layers, add a bit more vibrancy. Focusing on the center, so not necessarily the edges, but just the center of the fin. Okay, and then maybe add some little small detailing with cobalt green just on the edges, here and there. Now I see that I do want a little bit more color on the tail fin as well, so adding a bit more cobalt green to that. Elf says, have you done a sea turtle before? Yes, I have done sea turtles before. They are here on YouTube actually. Those were a Patreon project in pastel, so that is still available on Patreon in real time. That was a really fun project. Alright, moving on to the next fin. Let's move on to this bottom one. I hope I'll be able to finish this in half an hour. Okay, so this fin looks a bit more orange. Again, with some really dark veins at the base. But I'm going to start off light, just using the same colors basically. The earth green and then the ivory and the dark chrome yellow as base tones. So starting off with ivory, 103. Filling up the paper a little, making sure that there's no white of the paper showing through anymore. Switching to earth green again and use that on the edges. Already recreating that veiny texture a little. And I can go a little darker just underneath the body. All right. Switching to the dark chrome yellow, 109, and also add this as a base tone. Following the flow and the direction of the fin shape. Being a little faster now. Alright, and then I'm going to add some darker orange here and there, some blotches, some patchy areas. So this is 115, dark cadmium orange. Just creating some of those darker patches. And some of the darker veins at the base. Saying veins all the time, but I have no idea if these are actually called veins, these dark things, lines. They look like veins, so I guess I'm just calling them veins. And then let's see, maybe a bit more of that cobalt green as well. Just because I like how it looks. So that was number 156. bit more yellow. So when you've done some of these fins, it becomes easier to recreate the same process. And then I'm taking Caput Mortem Violet to do the darkest lines at the base. All right. Concentrating, making sure that I get all these shapes right, and adjusting the shape of the body a little bit as well. Okay, so that's it for this fin, keeping it very light, very subtle. And then moving on to these two big ones in the front. So these ones are quite light, so I need probably a lot of ivory there. Again, softening and lightening all the outlines. Alright, let's see if I missed any comments. Turtles. Yeah, if I can find any good turtle pictures, I will remember that. It's really hard to find turtle pictures. Leslie says, do I draw horses? A nice dapple gray hunter with mane and braids would be fun for the mixed media. Or without braids and full mane. Yes, I definitely draw horses. I've been an equine artist for quite some years. I love drawing horses. So I will definitely remember that. I am definitely way better at horses than I am at fish. Okay, so starting off with ivory and just giving this first one a little base layer. Actually, I'm using quite a lot of pressure because I don't need much more color on this. I just want a lot of ivory and a bit of green. And that's basically it. Unfortunately, the sketch lines do show through a little, so that's a bummer. Oh well. Okay, switching to the earth green again and also adding some of these lines at the edges. And then the other fin is in shadow a little, so I'm doing the base of that with the green. Still keeping it light. Just keeping it light. I'm not putting too much effort in this anymore. When I do larger colored pencil pieces, I just finished one of a Bengal cat, a really nice drawing. When I do larger drawings, I always have to spread it out over multiple weeks because I tend to start rushing when I work on one piece for too long. So I usually do a maximum of 2 hours, and then I put the drawing away for several days. And this one is taking more time than I expected. Right, maybe adding some gray for the back one instead of ivory, because the back one is catching a bit less attention from the viewer, so this one can be a bit more muted in color. So this is cool gray one. Do make sure to work on the shape. And then it comes out at the bottom a little. Maybe adding some gray to the front one as well. Smudge it out a little. Don't want these edges to be too prominent there. I'm smudging out or blurring these edges with the kneaded eraser and adding a tiny bit of ivory then. Okay, so then I'm adding a little bit of sky blue on the front fin, and then I want to add just a few orange patches there as well. So then I'm using the dark cadmium orange 119 and add a few strokes of that. I see a little patch of orange right here. Those markings really add a lot of realism to the piece. Alright, tad of Caput Mortem Violet for the darkest veins in there. Alright, so leaving it like that. And then moving on, we have this little front fin that we have to do. That one's very light, so I want to keep it light. And the base, a little orange. I'm going to put some orange there. I have no idea what this fin is called. Little orange at the base, little ivory, and that's basically it. And then earth green around to sharpen the edges. I'm going fast now. Maybe even some Caput Mortem Violet around as well. Create more shadow, especially at the bottom. Pop this little fin forward. You can find way more colored pencil pieces that are in real time over on my Patreon. So those are all way more extended than this one. There's a link in the description if you'd like to join. Okay, so the eye, let's move on to the eye finally. Let's see if I missed any comments. The vein-like structures that give some rigidity to the fins are known as rays. You know a lot about fish. Thank you, I didn't know that. Okay, rays. I have to remember that. Fin rays are actually bone or cartilage. Alright. So there is still quite some structure in the fins, although they seem very light and transparent. Hi, Mike. Workflea asks, how much layering in one area is possible? When you lay down a dark color and then overlay it with lighter colors, or vice versa? When do the layers build up too much? How many are possible? That totally depends on how much pressure you add. So if you add very light pressure, with circular motions, you can add as many layers as you like. On this white paper, it's not possible to go with light colors over dark colors, so you have to build up from light to dark. If you work on pastel matte, for instance, you can go from dark to light. So pastel matte works very differently. But on these regular drawing papers, you have to build up from light to dark. And you have to build up with very light pressure. If I put down a very heavy layer with a heavy hand, I maybe will be able to do about 3 layers maximum. But if I do light layering with a light hand, I can add as many as I want to. It does differ per paper though. Alright, so let's move on to the eye. Zooming in on the eye a little. So we have the pupil, which is quite large. So let's put it in right away. So for the pupil, I'm going in with Cabot Morton Violet, so no black yet. Just straight black will probably make the eye look a bit flat, so I'd like to go in with a purple first, sometimes a blue, to get a bit more depth in there. So looking at the shape of the pupil, it looks a little bit oval. Filling that in. Alright. Maybe add a tad of indent green blue on top of that. Then it's already quite dark, so I don't think I need black. This is already dark enough for me. Okay, so then for the outer edges of the eye, I don't want a very straight, dark outline around the eye because there is not really an outline. So let's start layering with a bit of yellow first. Let's go around the eye. There is some depth in the eye, but there's no outline. Around the pupil I see green. So I'm taking some green. So this is grass green 166. Going to layer it lightly around the pupil. Like that. And then I do see some darker shading inside the eye as well, so I'm going to do that with Caput Mortem Violet. So now I have to go really finicky and just add this in the center of the eye. So usually I do the eyes first when I draw an animal, but with this one, apparently I figured to do it last. Let's concentrate. A little bit more yellow. Do a bit of shading. And then I do want some overall darker red shading around the whole eye. So I'm taking, maybe I should do darker red. So let's do deep middle cadmium red, 217. And draw this around the eye a bit more to make the eye pop. I've not really spent a lot of time on the lips, so let's add some yellow to the lips, like that. Add a bit more yellow around the pupil. So there's not really a highlight in the eye, because the eye is already underwater. So we don't have that wet shine to it, but I am going to do a tiny bit of outlining with the white jelly roll, especially at the bottom. Okay. Still feel like it lacks some darkness, so some extra Caput Mortem Violets. And then we are pretty much done. So now I can go over here and there and hype up the vibrancy even more if I want to. So to be honest, I was not sure what this one was going to turn out like. I don't have much experience with drawing fish. I will be starting another fish though tomorrow for a Patreon, so this was good practice. Let's add a bit more orange here and there. In the meantime, I'm also going over the comments. Thank you so much, Graham. Thanks for all your compliments. Hi, Sarah. Okay. Thanks so much, Joanne. Yeah, currently I'm spending a lot of time on Patreon. Patreon is my main source of income at the moment, so teaching is what I do the most and what I enjoy the most at the moment, so I really want to evolve in it and get better at it. If you do want to join Patreon, you can wait until the 1st of the month, because Patreon works with upfront payments. So that means if you sign up, you get charged for the current month, and then right away on the 1st of each month. So I would recommend waiting until the 1st. And I do have a library of all my tutorials, which you can also find in the comments, I think, or in the description. And there you can find a whole overview of all the tutorials that I currently have available, so then you can see what membership suits you the best. I quite like this. I'm happy with what this looks like. It is a quick project, but it turned out more or less realistic. So that's nice. Currently just adding a bit more vibrancy here and there. Maybe get rid of some of the paper texture as well by doing some burnishing with the white caran d'Ache. I don't need much burnishing, just here and there where I see the paper show through and where I have that grainy texture. I don't like that. Yes, I feel like the eye really brought it to life. That's always the case when I draw animals. I think the eyes are so important. Maybe I do need a tad of black in the pupil, just a little bit. Make it pop. Not everywhere, just a little bit of black. Alright. I'm behind on the comments. I'm going to read the comments. Thank you so much, Leslie. I hope you'll enjoy my Patreon. Thank you, Aestheti. Still don't know how to pronounce your username. I think I forgot a little fin right here, but actually I don't like it. I think it will look weird, so I'm going to erase that little fin at the bottom. So we're going to pretend like it doesn't exist. Work on this lip area a little more. Create some more darkness in the eye. I don't want the eye to be too light. A little bit more cobalt green glazing. So now I can basically go over and add as much color as I like. Srinivas says, I'm given to understand that Stonehenge cold pressed paper is the best for colored pencil. Not necessarily, it does depend on your own style of drawing, of course. Hot pressed or cold pressed is, from what I know, very rough paper. Hot pressed is smoother. I think cold pressed might be too rough. Then you basically have to keep on layering and blending for hours and hours. So I think this is the most comparable to hot pressed watercolor paper. And I like the fine grain. So I don't like when my paper is too rough, because then it just takes too much time. Oh, Eastet. Okay. Now I know how to pronounce your name. Okay. So I think I'm done. I have to take Molly for a little walk before she gets picked up by her owner. adding a little bit more orange. Of course, this stream will just stay on my channel, so if you want to rewatch it or draw along, you can. I will link part 1 below this video as well. So part 1 is unfortunately very blurry and not very easy to watch. This one is a lot better, so that's good. Okay, so let's call it a day. I hope you liked it. Definitely have a look at my Patreon if you want to follow along with way more tutorials in real time. Much more extended as well, more difficult than this one. And I hope you liked it. So I'll see you in the next stream. I'm going to look for a new subject to do, and it will probably be a combined color pencil and pastel piece on pastel mat, a bit more large, and it will be wildlife, I think. So stay tuned for the next stream, probably in 2 weeks, same day, same time. Thank you so much to Joanne for moderating. I really appreciate it. Definitely have a look at her channel if you have a channel. I'm not sure if you have stuff on your channel, but if you do, definitely check out Joanne's channel. And thank you all so much for watching. I will see you next time, and have a nice day or a nice evening. Bye guys.